Hello everyone, my name is Raven Shadowhawk and you're listening to Smut with Brains, my chance to chat with you about all the things that interest me as an author of erotic fiction. Please be aware this podcast will often contain sexual content, some of it explicit, and that I occasionally swear. Okay, I swear a lot, what can you do? But if you're happy with that and not already running for cover, slip into your most comfy clothes, join me between the sheets and settle in for a super smexy ride. Hi, it's Raven Shadowhawk here and I'm pleased to have you all with me. Welcome to Smut with Brains. Today is March. Yikes! Oh my god, it's March 6th as I record this, and I'm sitting in super duper top secret location number 1. Actually, that's an old joke which I'll explain to you another time. Feeling pretty light and happy, actually, after the day I've had. It's been nice. I got to spend a nice chunk of today with a friend, mooching around Market Harbour and catching Pokemon and looking at awesome auction items. All things I enjoy doing. You know I enjoy Pokemon. In fact, just before I started recording today, I actually popped out the house to catch a Pikachu that was up at the front on the street, and I hatched a Smoochum as I was going out there, which I realise if you're not a Pokemon player is not exciting, but to me, it's the only baby Pokemon I didn't have, so hooray! Raven's very happy right now. I hope you're feeling as good as I am. So, today, there are quite a few things I'd like to talk to you about, and I'm going to start, I think, right at the top of my little list here, I are organised, with Tumblr. Last week, you may recall I mentioned that I had joined Tumblr and I was terrified by it. That's still kind of the case. I don't really understand the way it works and how it's supposed to be used. However, I'm having a lot of fun trying to figure it out. I've actually played about with my page and made it pretty, and made it feel more like a page that's related to me. I've also been following people left, right and centre. So the sudden spike of activity across my blog has just gone blah, blah, blah. But you know, that's how you learn things. You tap buttons until something breaks, and then you tap more buttons and hope it fixes it. That's kind of the approach I've taken with Tumblr here. And so far it's going really well. So again, I mentioned it last week, but if you're curious about Tumblr, if you use Tumblr, my Tumblr is ravenshadowhawk.tumblr.com, and Tumblr is spelled Tumblr. Good old internet with its weird, funky spellings of stuff. And at the moment, there's all sorts of nonsense across my Tumblr. It's arranged as a grid, which is still something I don't get, but it's pretty to look at. And I take questions there and chat to people there and generally have a nice time. Do you know what? I actually think I'll end up using this probably more than Facebook and Twitter. Oh dear. Don't really mean to, but whatever. I get kind of like shiny object syndrome or new shiny objects. So something new and awesome comes along and I'm like, ooh, a new thing. And then I forget about, ooh, the old things. And it goes round in a circle. Okay, I'm babbling today. I apologise. Let's try and get back on track. So that's Tumblr. Which again segues quite nicely into the other thing I wanted to talk about. Segue. I swear, the English language, I think portions of it were made just to make me laugh. Segway. I've talked about this before and I talked about it again today. Segway, the rolly thing that you stand on and you wheel around looking like a tit, and Segway, the seamless motion from one subject to another. Yeah, seamless. Yep, because that's exactly what I did. Anyway, segue into the other thing I wanted to talk about today before I get into the other stuff. Tumblr and the reason I joined in the first place. I mentioned to you last week that I joined to follow a particular audio artist. Yeah, that's not changed. It's still the case. But, you know, side thing. Tumblr is fun. So last week I talked to you about Cardlin, the audio artist that I found on Literotica and stalked across to YouTube. Today, the second of the three I wanted to talk to you about is the Grey Knight. And now is as good a time as any to talk to you about him. Now, where did I find this guy? I think I originally found him on the Tarotica as well, but I decided then that I didn't like his style. There was something about his voice that I didn't like, and I was looking quite specifically for British voices. I don't even know why, but I was. And then I heard his voice again in an audio that Cardlin did. He appeared as a guest, and I thought, oh, actually, I like his voice too. So I went hunting for him. He has a Tumblr, greyknighterottica.tumblr.com, and he also has a Spotify where he uploads some of his other audios as well. I think he might have a Podbean. Podbean. He does appear on Podbean. This is why I wanted to talk about him. Oh my God, Raven, why are you so disorganized today? Okay, so not only does the Grey Knight do his audio stories as he does across his Tumblr and across his Spotify, but he also does a weekly podcast. It's called Nightly Pleasures, and it is available on iTunes, and it is available on Podbean and Stitcher and, all those other fun places where you normally get podcasts from. And it's not dissimilar to this, I suppose. He starts the podcast with a story every week, by the way. My God, it made me feel really shit when I realised he was reading something new every week to his listeners. I thought, oh man, I was supposed to start reading my story in January and I haven't written it yet. Bad, Raven, bad. But yeah, he'll read a story every week and then he'll natter for a bit and then he'll answer questions. And what I quite like about his podcast is what he does is he takes his questions as audio files and plays them so you can actually hear the listener asking their questions and he'll respond to it through the course of the podcast quite naturally. And I thought that was a nice touch. So this guy differs from Cardlin for a couple of reasons, actually. The main one being his work is all erotic. It's very specifically designed to get you hot. I mean, if I go to his Tumblr here, let's see, we've got his title and then we've got his logline here, the finest erotic stories and audio for discerning individuals 18 and over only. Whereas Cardlin does the softer boyfriend stuff and drama as well, and, non-romantic, non-erotic stuff. The Grey Knight, or Jack, his name is Jack, doesn't do that. His is all designed to be erotic, turn you on, get you horny stuff for women. And it's actually really nice to listen to. And what's quite good about this guy as well is his range. I'm not quite sure what his background is exactly because I haven't finished going through his older episodes yet where I'd learned more about him. But I believe he used to work in radio, which is a common thing I'm finding for people who do podcasts. In fact, I used to work in radio as well. Well, I say worked, never got paid for it, but it was fun. That's what counts, right? I guess, I don't know, podcasting lends itself to a particular type of person. Maybe someone who is used to talking to people without having someone to talk to, if that makes sense. Obviously, I'm having a conversation with you guys, but at the moment it's quite one-sided because you aren't here with me. That's the type of thing I'm talking about. And he's very, very good at that. So if you're looking for erotic audio, erotic stories, he is definitely somebody to look for. And he has also just released a book, which I will tell you about very briefly. It's called The Sun, The Girl and Goodbye, and I would imagine, because I haven't bought this yet, it's actually on my list. I'm going to be going to get that in a second. I've got gift cards that I need to spend. Oh God, yeah! But I'd imagine it's in the style of everything else that he writes. And the little blurb for it is as follows. After meeting the woman of his dreams, a man trades a promising future and the soft sun of LA to enter the world of the mysterious girl. Enter the world of the sun, the girl and goodbye. A tale of romance, desire, BDSM and true love. Can these two strangers, drawn and desperate for one another, find happiness and tranquility under the tyranny of the North African sun? Oh yeah! I'm very excited about it. And again, he's one of those writers, artists that I'm really keen to support in any way I can because I like what they do. So that's one of the reasons I'm telling you about him today. And when I have purchased the book, received said book, and read the book, I will probably be doing a little review of it as well, because that's something else I'd like to try doing. Helping to spread the love and spread the word about books that I enjoy. And I have no doubt that I'll enjoy this one. Okay? Right, so that's my fangirl gush done for now. Let's get on with the actual, meat of this podcast. Mark it on the calendar. Tick it off the list. Work complete. Yeah, that's sweet. Here's my to-do list. You get the gist. Yeah, this week has been fantastic. La 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 la. I must admit though, I haven't done quite as much as I was hoping. I forgot that DSB's sister was rocking up last week. She arrived on Wednesday and stayed here with us until Saturday. So actually, we spent quite a bit of time just mooching about and not doing the shit we were supposed to be doing. Never mind, it's nice hanging out with family, but I am pleased to say, oh my God, I have finally started putting words in the manuscript for learning the ropes, breaking news. God damn it, yes! I can't quite express how exciting that is for me. I didn't manage the 1,000 words the way I wanted to. I got half of that done, but it doesn't matter. Half of a target is better than none of a target. And what I'm finding is I'm writing a little bit slower than I normally would, because I'm thinking more deeply about the process of writing. On Saturday, I went to a workshop, screenwriting, or screenwriting for novelists, or using screenwriting techniques to help with a novel, and it was so helpful. It was run by Wayne Kelly. He's actually a buddy of mine. He's part of our critique group, and he is actually the co-host of the Joined Up Writing podcast, which is the other podcast that DSB is part of. So if you're interested in that, and me speaking as DSB rather than Raven, go listen to that Joined Up Writing podcast, myself and Wayne Kelly. But he ran it, and it was really, really fascinating. It gave me lots of things to think about insofar as setting scene and tone and subtext and foreshadowing, and what it's done is made me slow down when I'm drafting and think more deeply, which is good for a couple of reasons actually. The first reason being I'll have a cleaner first draft. The second reason being it allows me to focus properly on character and plot rather than getting bound up in how many words can I write in 15 minutes, which is, it used to be how I worked, and I think some of my earlier work suffered for that. So that's not going to be an issue with this. And of course, reason number 3, because I'm not going to be editing this in the traditional way, I'm going to be releasing it to you guys. The fact that it is cleaner will hopefully provide a better listening experience for you, the listener. So I'm very, very positive about what's coming up, and I'm already absolutely in love with my best friend character, Day. Let's see. Her first line in this section is, "Hey girl, get up and get dressed. We're going out." It's like, I like her. So yeah, I like her a lot. I haven't reached a point where I've introduced Joshua yet, but it's going to be so much fun writing about him. You remember how excited I got before talking about doing horrible things to horrible characters? Well, we're not far off that, so it's going to be really exciting. The other end of the scale, Smixy snippet number 6, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? Hooray! It's done. It's over. I know there wasn't much to do when I last spoke with you, but it took a bit longer than I anticipated to get over that last little hump. It's the climax of the scene, so I didn't want it to be shit, basically. I didn't want it to be wishy-washy and crap. I wanted to make sure that I still had the emotion there. I still had the connection between these two men. and that what they were doing made sense in the context of the rest of the story. So I took more time over it. But again, the story is better for it. So I am now at a point where I can begin sending it out to the people on my mailing list, my bed buddies, so I can start getting feedback from them before I begin the final proofing and editing process. It's all very exciting. Oh, I suppose I should mention, since that's the kind of thing you do in podcasts, if you're interested in joining my mailing list or becoming a bed buddy, to explain, bed buddies are the people on my mailing list who also help me when I'm actually getting work done. So they receive copies of my work before it releases to the general public to have a chance to offer me feedback on it. They have a chance to offer their input on titles and plot and cover art as well. They're all involved with that back end, and they also get free copies of everything once they're done. Obviously they get the beta version before it's complete, but when it's complete they get a free ebook as well as a thank you for their help. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, there is a link to my mailing list in the description of this podcast, and you will also, this is the treat, receive a bunch of freebies if you join the mailing list as well. I give away my complete Meeting Each Other series, which is the first series of erotic stories I ever released. You get the full omnibus version plus a bonus story, which isn't actually available any other way except through the omnibus version of the series, which I'm quite proud of. So, you know, even if you don't want to be a bed buddy, if you want 6 free stories plus 1 extra, join the mailing list and get the stories. You know, you might even like it. The other thing I wanted to do, I'll be honest, I haven't even looked at it. Do you remember the little impromptu piece of writing I did a couple of weeks ago called Pick One, the DDLG piece? My plan was to get a bit more of that done, and it kind of fizzled out and didn't go the way I hoped. It's a shame, but I'm not surprised, considering how much time I had out for, you know, family visits and getting the other stuff done. I'm not too upset, but it hasn't been finished. Things that make me laugh. Okay, so remember a few weeks ago I freaked the hell out about the Pokemon sex toy dildo selection? Well, it gets even better! Oh my god, this popped up in the Metro on Friday, and fuck it, I'll read it to you, okay? You can now masturbate with your very own unicorn horn dildo. Sexy emphasis my own. Look, the world's unicorn obsession has reached its peak. We've thrown the unicorn trend at everything. Coffee, makeup brushes, blankets, hot chocolate. So of course the unicorn trend was bound to infiltrate our vaginas. Geeky sex toys, the same brands behind the Pokemon sex toys we all collectively lost our shit over, have just brought out dildos shaped like unicorn horns. Meaning pearlescent dildos in pink, white, or lilac, twisted and tapered into a point. See, to me that just sounds painful, but whatever. Each unicorn horn is 7.5 inches long and 5.5 inches wide at the base, narrowing to just 2 inches at the tip. There's also a super strong suction cup on the end so you can easily attach it to someone else's genital area or wall. Or someone's head if you're really committed to the unicorn roleplay thing. Or you can masturbate with it and think of unicorns running around on rainbows just like you did in your teens. Oh god. Anyway, it's made of body-safe silicone, it's firm but flexible, and the twisty horn style adds a bit of texture. So it's a perfectly acceptable dildo for anyone who needs everything in their life to be unicornified and is also feeling a bit horny. And then there's a video and it's It's one of the guys from Geeky Sex Toys, and it's spectacular. And for goodness sake, please just go and have a look at it. It's on the Metro website, metro.co.uk, and you'll find it on the page for items from Friday. So that's the 3rd of March 2017, and you will find it in there. Oh my God! I can't handle just... do you know what? I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, they say that most technological advancements have come about for 2 reasons. Either to help, push the sex industry, or for war and guns and killing people. And do you know what? It's probably true. So when I think about it, I think I'd prefer the whole sex bit. That's far more fun than murder and war. So, Oh, God, I can't even, what is my life? What's going on? Let me tell you now. It's all about the week ahead. My week ahead. My week ahead. My week ahead. Let me tell you about my week ahead. Are you ready now to hear about the week ahead? Okay, so... what am I going to do this week? I'm going to try not to freak out about unicorn horns. I'm also going to get some more work done on learning the ropes, breaking noose, because just going through Jack's podcast and listening to all of his back catalogue has made me feel horrifically guilty. I appreciate that I have things like young children and a household to look after and blah 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 blah, but his turnover is just phenomenal, and I've asked him about it actually, how on earth he keeps up with that kind of workload, and I'm waiting for an answer because he's just, oh God, he fascinates me. His work ethic as well as the type of work he does, it's fascinating to me. So this week I will be trying to emulate Jack the Green Knight's fabulous output by working on learning the ropes, breaking noose. I will also do my absolute best to get Smexy Snippet number 6 out to my beaters on the Bed Buddies team. And actually, I think that's it. This is a discussion I was having with somebody last week, actually, because I'm getting asked quite a lot now, how is your writing going? And I'm thinking, well, actually, it could be doing better, but I've splintered myself in so many directions all at once, and now I'm worried about so many different projects all at once that I'm not getting anything, like any one thing done, which is a shame. So I reckon if I ease off a little bit and put my focus in maybe 2 places as opposed to 4 or 5, I will see far more productivity. So that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I'm not adding anything else to that list. 1 segment of learning the ropes and final prep for beta readers on Smexy Snippet 6. I think that's enough to keep me busy, don't you? Yes, folks, it's Q&A time. You ask the questions and I'll give the answers. And I will never, ever lie. Promise. I have questions from a listener. Holy fuckballs. Yeah, I know. It's exciting, right? And I'm cognizant of the fact that I have always asked, if there's anything you want to know, then please do ask me and I will give you the answers. And of course, like my sting says, I will never ever lie. But I feel like I've kind of set myself up for a fall there, because now that questions have started coming through, there's a real possibility that I won't want to answer them. But we'll see how we go. We have we have 3 questions here, and do you know what? Fuck it, I'll answer all 3. Thanks, Justin. No, genuinely, thank you. Don't take that wrong way. I am pleased you gave me your questions and I want to answer them. So here we go. Who's my biggest sexual crush? I'm going to have to think about that one for a second. Oh, man. See, it would be really good and like, I don't know, I want to say sensible, but that's the wrong word. It would be really good of me if I said something like, the Funk Master is my only sexual crush. I want him and only him. But the reality is, if Johnny Depp turned up on my doorstep like now and said, come with me, Raven, I want to bend you over my table, I'm not going to say no. Jeez, God, no. No, I'm not going to say no. So there's that. But I'd kind of, it's difficult to kind of narrow it down because I find all sorts of things sexy, actually. And all manner of different things are turn-ons for me. So, that's really hard. Okay, if I take it back and try and think about this exact moment in time, who, if they showed up on my door and said, come with me, Raven, I shall bend you over my table. This is going to sound horrifically fangirlish, but actually, Jack. Oh, fuck. Yeah, the Grey Knight. And not just because he has an incredibly sexy voice, but I am attracted to talent. I had a talent crush on Lady Gaga for a good 6 months before that faded off. This was a couple of years ago now. But I am genuinely attracted to talent, and Jack, the Grey Knight, is a talented, sexy man. So I guess, Justin, at the moment, my biggest sexual crush is Jack, the Grey Knight. There you go. Stalker fangirl. Question number 2. When was your first girl-on-girl experience? You assume there's been a girl-on-girl... Yeah, why am I even... I'm bi. He knows this. Okay. That's... Okay, let me think. I know who it was, so that would put it after uni. So I was probably around the 22, 23 mark. Okay. I got invited to a birthday party, friend of a friend, possibly. Yeah, many friends. And I met a girl there and her boyfriend, and I think, if I'm honest, it was probably this girl and her fella who confirmed to me something I'd suspected throughout my university years but hadn't actually confirmed, which was I didn't just fancy girls, I wanted to bone them too. So that's what happened. And it wasn't just girl on girl, it was girl and guy, because her boyfriend was involved as well, and it was lovely and everybody was happy, and so was I, because at that point I knew for sure, yeah, this isn't a phase. I'm not going to grow out of this. I fancy women. They taste good, they look good, they smell good, they are good. Just as good as men. I like both. And you know what? I'll always remember the experience fondly, not just because it confirmed what it confirmed, but it was my first, and it was tender and gentle and funny. Christ, we just fumbled all over the place. We didn't know what we were doing. But that's I don't know, that kind of thing plays into my writing, I guess. It's one of those things I've always said about sex. Sex is funny. Whether or not you intend it to be, sex is funny. So that experience kind of cements that in my mind, which is why I always try to inject some humour into my writing when it comes to sex, because sex is funny. But thank you very much, lady who I shall not name, for doing good things to me and my brain, and, you know, helping me learn things that I suspected and never pinpointed until that night. Personal questions. Okay, question number 3. If you could have any of your stories turned into a movie or be part of an anthology of erotic shorts, which one and why? Okay, this one's much easier. Thank you, Justin. I would have Slippers and Chains, Sugar Dust turned into a movie. Largely because the novella came about as a product of my desire to write a a script for BBC, actually. I was thinking of writing something for BBC Three or something else that the BBC had to call out for. And I thought, well, actually, it was the Funkmaster's idea. The point of Slippers and Chains, when I originally wrote it, was to offer it up as a screenplay for a sitcom. Because I thought, in response to 50 Shades of Grey, it would be quite funny to normalise a BDSM relationship and show not necessarily the non-kinky side, but how the kinky side just plays hand in hand with the everyday couple side. And that's what the Slippers and Chains series is about. Yes, there's a good healthy dose of DS, BDSM in there, and femdom as well. But it's more about the relationship that Karen and Dan have in what is effectively a polyamorous relationship. So I would love to see that on screen, because that was the original idea behind it in the first place. And I also think the other reason I'd love to see it on screen is because it would be nice to see something on TV or cinema or Netflix, or it'd be nice to see some kind of visual media where BDSM was normalized, where it wasn't just a freaky fetish or a source of, I don't know, conflict for whoever was watching it, or, the subjects around it. If it was just on the side of the relationships of the people involved. So, if it was like Friends, and you've got these three women, these three men, and they all live across these apartments, and they go off and do what they do, and one of them just happens to be a dominatrix or something, yeah? Or if you think about Big Bang Theory, you've got this cluster of geeky guys who are very, very intelligent but socially inept, and they're comic geeks too, and it's very much a part of their identity, and it helps build their characters, but it's not what the show is about. Does that make sense? So that's kind of what I want from Slippers and Chains. One day, someday, over the rainbow, my dream will be achieved. Maybe, perhaps, I don't know. Anyway, that's it for today's question time. Oh, that was fun. I enjoyed those questions. Thank you, Justin. That was lovely. Okay. La da di da di da di da. All right, and that's it for today's episode of Smut with Brains. Thank you for sticking around with me and listening for the last half hour. I hope you've had fun. I certainly have. I'm going to head off now and enjoy the rest of my week. I hope you will too. And I will just leave you with one important little tidbit. Just because it's weird doesn't mean it can't be sexy. Remember, Rule 34 is there for a reason. And if you don't know what that is, look it up. That's your homework for today. Bye, people. Bye, bye, bye. This has been an episode of Smut with Brains featuring myself, Raven Shadowhawk. If you'd like to get in contact with me or the shared brain, you can email through info@ravenshadowhawk.co.uk or hit us through Twitter on @IleandraXRaven. For further information and the episode archive, visit www.ravenshadowhawk.co.uk. All episodes to date arranged and edited by Leah Osborne. Opening and closing music sourced from Ben Sound. Title: Sexy. Of course. Stings feature further music from Purple Planet, Ben Sound and freesound.org. Track titles are Funky Element, Sunny and NewsReportMusic.